So far we define all these. I will probably try to cheat a little bit here, and what I'll do is that this is called inheritance week 13. I will just quickly create a new header file so I can display stuff side by side. So shapes.h, okay, and then just simply say include shapes .h over here, and then open this file and move these two classes to this file, right? So I can basically work with the code side by side, which is kind of helpful. So okay, so there's a rectangle. It has width and height. It has a constructor and it has draw. Pretty simple. I also have circle, and I think I need to include stream and vector. Vector not, but the stream definitely I would probably prefer to do it here because I need to be able to use cout. So include IOStream and include shapes. Okay, so the code will not compile because the vector wants to have uniform objects. The containers in C++ standard library are vectors, lists, other types of containers are referred to as homogeneous containers, which means that they're supposed to contain the same objects and not different objects. However, this is very attractive proposition for us to have a dynamic container of different type of things and be able to quickly run a loop to send them messages to draw themselves. So the solution is this: create class name shape. Right, so this is class shape. Then shapes don't have width or height or radiuses, none of it. My only intent so far is to say draw. So I'll say, okay, void draw. But how do I define draw? I have no idea what to draw, how to draw it. I don't have a radius. I don't have I have none of it. So the solution is to leave it alone, unimplemented, just like this. Declare it. Then say that C++, and this also needs to be public, right? Because this is like official interface of this arrangement, just like all of the rest of them, right? So then the solution is that maybe do something like this. Create a vector of pointers to shape. Then instead of doing something like this, create them by saying new. So as the vector gets populated, push back what? Instead of pushing the actual object like this one, oh, by the way, I don't want to do this, right? I don't want to name them. I just want to create them. Quickly create an object dynamically. You already know that it gets created on a free store, and we get back a pointer when we say new. And that's exactly what I want to store. But store pointer to shapes instead of saving pointers to individual circles or rectangles. To make this possible, so that pointer to a rectangle can be saved as a pointer to shape, we will use this trick that the rectangle is a kind of shape. And that is called inheritance. Same thing for the circle. Circle is also kind of shape. We will discuss why we say public here, because there are private and protected versions of inheriting from objects. So what happens now is that we say there is a shape. This shape provides draw. That's great, because then if we have a vector of shapes, then we can say vector, each element here. Let me actually fix my syntax here. We're going to say index, access each individual object here, and tell it to draw itself. Since I'm using shape objects inside my vector, I am using this arrow type of access, because this is a pointer to shape. But I want to use pointer to an object, pointer to shape, and say draw. This still is not going to work, because shape and draw is not going to be magically correlated with these versions of draw inside my rectangle and circle, right? So circle can provide draw, and rectangle can provide draw, but this is not going to be magically connected with these versions of draw until I say virtual. Let's see if any of it actually works. Virtual shape draw. Yeah, since I'm not providing implementation, it needs to be pure. All right, we'll talk about that in a second. So it works. And this is one of the ways to implement, essentially say that we can have multiple classes, such as rectangle here and circle down there, but they have something in common. In this case, they don't share any data, right? Rectangle conveniently keeps its width and height. Circle conveniently keeps the radius, and which has nothing to do with width and height in the rectangle situation. But we want to use something in common, and in particular, we want to be able to draw them uniformly by simply saying you should have sufficient information about how to draw, or how to calculate the area of this particular shape, or how to calculate, say, a weight of a physical object based on its physical shape, and perhaps the type of material with known density on and all that. Calculate weight, or calculate area, or calculate volume, or draw, right? So what we did was that we derived rectangle from shape, and we also derived circle from shape using this curious syntax, which is actually it's equivalent to saying inherits from. There is no such thing as inherits from. Instead, C++ is using a colon. That's what C++ is using. And also we use public to make sure that basically what happens here is that whatever is declared public in shape remains public in rectangle. If you set private, then we should no longer be able to call draw, and you know, those other things may go wrong. So I'm not going to discuss this. This is really to be able to override and redefine this interface. So that's why we say public, and this should be, in 99.9% of cases, this needs to be saying public. And it's just the